Hello friends, Tanya here with Tinkering and Ink with Tanya, and today I'm doing a video featuring the Spellbinders 'Tis the Season collection and Be Merry collection. I'm starting out with a shopping spree die set. This creates a little lady who, I assume it's a lady, who is carrying a stack of presents. Now I like to double up the legs when I'm doing this because it should have a little weight when you make this dance. Gravity is involved here, so you need it a little bit weighted. I die cut all of the pieces in the die set, and I had taken some pattern papers to die cut the presents and all solid cardstocks for the other elements of this little dancing shopper. Here I'm putting the toes on the boot. I've seen some people put these up on dimension. I've also seen using another color or a shaded bit. I thought they looked great with just the toes being the same color as the main part of the boot. I also took some kind of an oatmeal colored cardstock and cut that out for the tops, kind of like a Sherpa style or an UGG, or I myself have sorrels. Winter boots are a very important thing in this state. I live in Minnesota, and snow. Yep, we have snow. We're known for snow and fish or lakes. Yeah, that's okay. We are going to create a whole stack of presents. Now these presents can be configured in many ways, however you would like to make them stack up. And if you're a fan of Tetris, this may be extra fun for you. There is a die that cuts out the strings for your packages. Now when you're assembling the arms and the mittens and the presents, one big clue is that you need to put the bottom present all the way down to that middle edge so that there's no coat color of the cardstock showing underneath the present right in the center. Once you have this first set of the first present and the mittens attached, then you can attach it to the coat. And then you can go ahead and build the rest of your presents. So to make this a little easier, I am going to take a piece of cardstock. Oh, I haven't figured that out yet. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to stack all of these presents here and how I'm going to glue them on. And then, aha, why don't I just take a piece of scratch cardstock and glue it behind the coat. Now, it works best if you don't overlap the end. It keeps it all even if you don't overlap the end with the coat, just butt it up against the top of the coat there. But this works too. I'm going to take my little package elements and adhere them to this piece of scrap cardstock so that it all just builds together. You could do these presents in solid cardstocks, whatever floats your boat. I personally did not want to have to add any details to the presents, and we always use very colorful, fun, different wrapping papers for the presents under our trees. For Christmas, for any holiday, for birthdays. I'm adding more strings to more of the packages. There is just one string element in the die set, but then you just trim it down to fit whichever package you're using. I am loving these reverse tweezers for these little tiny details when I'm adhering different parts from these die sets at Spellbinders. They have amazing builder die sets. They create so many awesome dies. That is what Spellbinders is known for, is their dies, but they have certainly expanded to beautiful stamps and other products along with that. Most of the things that I'm using in this video are dies. There are several in the Be Merry collection. And I did get several of them, and I have more videos coming up featuring other die sets and some stamps and some Glimmer hot foil. There are flower pieces in this die set also. There's it die cuts 2 flowers or flower parts and 2 different size leaves all at the same time. So I die cut the leaves. Oh no, there were 2 leaves on one die and several flower parts on another die. And I die cut all of those at once. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the leaves were on a separate die. Anyway, they're all on your die set. And I decided to make a poinsettia-ish flower for those. There are even little tiny button dies. They're all part of a grouping. I like it when they take these little tiny elements and put them on one block of dies so that you aren't losing your little tiny pieces. It's a lot easier to cut extra that you don't need than it is to try and make all that work. Now I am taking the, let me figure out what it's called. Found it. It is the Gifts of Christmas Sentiment. I am using the polished brass Glimmer hot foil with the die set, and now I'm going to take the Color Block Scenic die set and figure out how this is going to work out. I am making a couple of mini Slimline cards, so they are going to be I think I made these 3.5 by 6 1/4. No, 3 1/4 by 6. Yeah. I made a mini Slimline card, and I wanted this panel to be centered with that snow slope, and I lined that up on this piece of scratch paper in a way that I would be able to get that out the way I wanted it. I am using the Best Ever craft tape to secure my dies, and I do have to say I adore this tape. I can use that piece of tape over and over again. Heat and pressure don't make it adhere so hard that it will tear my paper, and yet it still holds very, very firmly. I am actually even able to tape it to this glitter paper, and it doesn't pull glitter off, and it doesn't let go. Glitter is notorious for being difficult to adhere over. Now I'm deciding how I'm going to layer these different slopes, and I do want 3 slopes on there. And I thought I would do 2 layers of glitter, however, it just blends into each other. So we've got in this layering of hills, we've got a heavyweight white cardstock that I have Glimmer hot foiled with the Glimmer plate. Oh, and here I'm deciding what I want to do with the background. I did pull out the July 2021 Glimmer of the Month kit, which is a mini Slimline sized dotted frame, like the Essentials Glimmer plates that come in all the other sizes. And I'm going to use this I'm going to use a piece of kind of a tealy blue color. I'm sure this is a retired Stampin' Up! Paper, but if you just peruse your own stash or just look for an aqua colored cardstock, this will work beautifully. I'm again using the polished brass Glimmer hot foil. And then I also wanted to use this Slimline confetti background Glimmer hot foil plate with some Opal foil. I am securing this with more of that Best Ever craft tape. I do make sure that I tape down both ends so that it doesn't slip and slide. I do get this off a little bit, so I'm going to trim that down just a little more. I think these are 3 by 6, so that they'll fit on a 3 1/4 by 6 1/4 inch card front. Now we're going to start assembling these guys. And I started to tell you that these layers are a heavyweight cardstock with the Glimmer Hot Foil sentiment, followed by the glitter panel, and then followed by a shimmery white cardstock. Now I've taken 3 layers of coaster blank to make these little dimension parts, and you can see that this is going to fit inside the dancing leg portion. You might think that it has to be circular. It does not. It's still going to dance even though these are rectangles. I am honestly surprised at how simple these action cards are to make. And they don't have to be super dimensional. Now I am using some Barely Arts precision glue to adhere these together. And you just have to be patient and allow this glue to set. It will hold on that glitter paper beautifully. And this is some older glitter paper. It's from my stash. And it's been in my stash for probably, I don't know, close to 10 years. Long time. Because you can certainly use just a little bit at a time. Glitter paper goes a long way. Again, just a little heavy block and a little bit of time. And I don't mean a ton of time. Just the time it takes to assemble some of the other layers. So I'm going to put this base layer down after I've glued all of those together. And now I just adhere these to the card fronts, and I'm actually making both of these cards at once. I had taken the dies and cut out a second dancing lady with an armful of gifts, and you can see that the second lady has 3 flowers on her stack of presents. Here I'm just trimming away some of the glitter paper that was a little bigger than the rest because I was getting a little shimmery edge there that I didn't really want. I'm adhering this lady down. Now this is my first dancing anything that I've assembled. So I'm not sure why I thought the best idea was to adhere it to the coat and then adhere it onto the card, because it's pretty difficult to not get the little legs stuck down and not swing, so they don't swing. So I'm fiddling with this. I think I get the placement just right, and it's starting to go back and forth, and I'm going to set this aside and move on to the next card and finish that one as I go. This was definitely a learning process, and I'm making all the mistakes here so you can avoid making those mistakes yourself later. We're going to adhere our little poinsettia on the pile of gifts, and these little tiny leaves get tucked underneath the poinsettia. And then I'm going to take some of these gold Color Essentials gems. I am still using from the same pack that I got a few months ago, and I use the heck out of these things. So if you're wondering if these are a good value, they sure are. I think it's like $2.99 for one of those little packages, and they last and last and last, I'm telling you. So now we're going to use that very beautiful snowy background. I love that that Slimline Confetti Glimmer Hot Foil plate to create this snowfall look with the Opal Glimmer Hot Foil. Glimmer Hot Foil colors that are my favorites are Opal, Polished Brass, Aura, Prism. There's a few. I just adore these. I can't wait to start using some really bright red for Christmas stuff. I forget about that. Okay, so now I've learned my lesson. I line up those little legs where they need to be on the card front, and then I put the dimensional for the legs adhered to the card base through the hole, and then I adhere the rest. Now I do realize that I've put my dimension behind the coat too far down. So I peel that back and I trim it off, And I realized that I also need a little more space. So I put another layer, so a second layer of coaster blank or whatever dimension you're using behind my gift stack. It's not on the coat part, it's just on the stack. And that gives me a freely moving and dancing leg section. Perfect. Figured it out. Added some more gems to the flowers that are already attached to that stack. And now we're going to fix the other dancer. I'm going to carefully pull that off of the card base. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong here. A couple things are wrong. I don't have enough dimension behind the stack of gifts, and the dimension is too far down and is obstructing the little legs from moving. So, second time around, I'm going to line up the legs where I want them. I'm going to adhere the pivot point for the legs to the card base through the hole in the leg piece. And then I'm going to put the girl and gifts over the top of that with enough dimension to allow those legs to swing freely. Now we have two dancing-legged girl cards. They are so cute. Fell in love with those things. Then we're going to use the Home from Christmas sentiment stamp set, which has the same larger sentiments as the foil set, but in slightly different configurations with slightly different fonts. It is super, super handy to have it as a stamp and a Glimmer Hot foil set. I love that Spellbinders is doing that. Okay, now this is where I screw up. I dropped the stamp on the card front of a completed card. Yeah, I'm going to fix it later. This time I'm going to make sure I have a good hold on the card base so that it doesn't lift up with the stamp when I pick up the stamp. I did use VersaFine Onyx Black ink, so I did get a beautiful impression, even with the one I bounced. And I took that card base and I cut it off. I cut the front off, and then I trimmed all the white off. And I'm going to adhere that to the card front again. So I didn't lose my card front. I'll make use of that piece that I had to cut off. I got a little bit of extra dimension here behind that panel. No big deal. So I cleaned my stamp really well, and this time, since I don't have all the extra bulk of all the layers, I can actually lay it in the MISTI, use my magnet to hold down the card base, and stamp the sentiment on the inside of the card in a low-risk fashion. So we'll take that finished card panel that I rescued from the other card, and we'll adhere that to the card base. And then we do have two complete cards. I don't think I used any other adhesive other than the Barely Arts Precision Glue. It is my go-to glue, and I think it works for just about everything. Here we go with our dancing legs once more and our fun sentiment. I hope you enjoyed this card. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in any of the products I used today, check that description box below. They are always listed and linked. I really appreciate it when you take the time to use those links to go shopping. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, now's a good time. Until later, bye-bye.